Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name's Preston, and today we are reviewing our color red for the Royal Bloodlines OP10. So let's jump straight into that card list, and we'll start off with our leaders here. Red got all the leaders this set. I think the ones that we want to focus on really is Caesar. But also we'll touch a little bit on Smoker since Smoker has some overlap here. But let's start with here. Smoker gives all Navy or Punk Hazard characters plus 1000 power during your opponent's turn, which is really interesting. On top of that, it has an activate main once per turn. If you have a character with 7000 power or more, activate 2 Dawn, which is pretty cool. I love the ability to manipulate Dawn, and this is a pretty good one. 2 Dawn at a time of your choosing is pretty great. Leaves you open to a lot of flexibility and some really interesting plays, I think. Next up we have Caesar Clown. When 2 Dawn are attached, when you're attacking, you can return one of your characters with Punk Hazard trait with a cost of 2 or more to their owner's hand. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4000 power or less. Having KO potential on your leader is really good. I think there's a lot of conditions on Caesar. Having to send a Punk Hazard trait character with 2 or more, and then also having 2 Dawn attached, and then only being able to activate it as you attack. I think that's a lot of things going on for something that we'll have to see how easy it is to even pull off. I don't know. We'll have to see how that actually turns out, but I'm feeling like it's a little lackluster, and with the cards that we got, since this is just the first set of Punk Hazard, I feel like it's going to be pretty underrated to start. But they got a Searcher right off the bat. Usually you either get the Searcher in the first set they're in or the second set. I feel like it's been more often than not that you don't get your Searcher until the second set that you've come out in. But this is a top 5 Searcher that pulls a Punk Hazard off the top of your deck, except for himself. In the bottom of deck. Standard Searcher stuff. That's a good start, really. If your set's getting that, I think the really good stuff had it in the second set, and that might be a little worrisome because I feel like this Punk Hazard stuff is just whatever. But the stuff that is not just whatever. First up, we have the Sanji. I think the Sanji is really good. During your turn, he gains 3000 power, so he's a 6k attacker at 3 cost. Then, when inevitably it gets KO'd, you get to draw a card. That's awesome. I love that. Drawing cards is the reason I play card games. I love to draw cards. Love to have more cards in my hand. And this Sanji enables that for me. The other super rare we got here is Monet. Activate main. You can put this character into rest. Arrest this character. Give 2 Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. After that, your opponent loses 1000 power from one of their characters. So this is really interesting to consider with all of the other stuff that you got going on with Caesar. So activate this, 2 Dawn, straight to leader, leader attacks, pick up Monet, and then potentially play it again. That's how I see one of the few things that you can do with this deck, which is really interesting. Minus 1000 power, which would then enable Caesar to KO something that would be 5k instead of just 4k. So there is that. If that's the only thing they got going for it, that's not great. I feel like that's one of many things that you want to do, but it's interesting, and I think that's probably by design that it gives 2 Rested Dawn to enable that leader effect. So by design, that's something that they considered. That's something they wanted. We'll move on to the only other combo that I thought I saw, which is Caesar's Soldiers. When played, play up to one character card with characteristic punk hazard with a cost of 2 or less from your hand. So when thinking about this set, we have to look at punk hazard cards with 2 or less, and we got Virgo. So you can play your searcher. So pay 3, get an additional search. That's interesting. You have your brothers here. Scotch, he's a blocker, but also when played, if you have no rock cards, play 1 rock card from your hand. And then if we jump to page 2 and look at rock, on play, if you don't have a Scotch, play up to 1 Scotch from your hand. So I think that might be one of the more effective plays, is to play soldier into the two brothers here, Scotch and Rock. Maybe that's good. You have 2 more 2 cost that you can pick up and put down and stuff like that for Caesar effects. You get to spam board. Going wide is interesting, even though these guys aren't super strong, which is if they were a little bit stronger, that might be really cool to go wide. On board, having a lot of characters on board, playing the soldiers into a lot of like mid-level characters that can then attack a lot. Thinking about how Zoro used to play, just play a bunch of characters on board, but they're kind of weak in getting them up to like 5k to be able to attack. I guess Rock is already 3, but I don't know if I want to invest 2 Dawn into him. The last option here is, I mean, would you place soldiers into Monet? It's interesting. And then you also have Dragon, which is just a blocker. I don't know. But yeah, I think the soldiers has a very good option. Doesn't say, I guess it's not a 2 or less. You can't play itself. It would have been interesting to play itself as well. Maybe with the condition, if it was played by a card effect, it doesn't get its effect. Might have been interesting. But moving on from the combos, let's talk about events, because oh boy, do we have some fun things here to talk about. First up, we got Monet's Blizzard event, Kamakura Toko Soshi, which is a great counter that first gives you 3,000 power during this battle. For 2 Dawn, 3,000 power. After that, minus 2,000 power to an opponent's leader or character for the turn. I think that's really great. So this should work in the same way that other effects have this split wording. So give 3,000 to one of your guys, give 2,000 to anybody else. That potentially stops 2 fights from happening. The current one that you're in right now and a future one, which minus 2k is pretty significant if you're dropping something out of attack range. Especially if it's like a leader that has an on-attack ability like Caesar, getting them out of the way so that they can actually go in and do their stuff, I think is pretty cool and very versatile to be able to use to defend yourself. Next up, we got Divine Departure. They're calling it God's Escape. Basically the same idea. On main, you can rest 5 additional Dawn, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8k power or less, or as a counter, for 1 Dawn, up to one of your leaders gets 3,000 power during this battle. I like this card not just because it got a really cool alt art, but because it was built with versatility that is not quite like stuff we've seen before. So 1 cost plus an additional 5 in its activation cost is really cool card design. And then you also have the additional ability to use it differently. So I can't wait to see if they continue to build cards with this ability to have an activate main and then a counter that, like, the activate main is way stronger, but you have to pay additional Dawn. I think that's really cool. Last up, Punk Hazard stage, I don't think this card gets played, but it has a very rare thing where you can grant a Rested Dawn to a leader or character. I was looking and trying to figure out if there was a event that already did this, and I don't think there is. The first one that came to mind was the original 1000 Sunny, but that is just a 1000 boost. It's not a Dawn, so this actually has more versatility to be able to activate those Dawn attach effects, which I think is really interesting, but it's hard to play events in this game. They take up a spot, and unless they're so impactful that they make a massive difference in the way the game's gonna go, I don't think they get played, so I don't think this card gets played. But that's everything that I could think of to talk about for this red set. I think overall, the leaders are much better than the cards that came in this set. The SRs really are the only thing that are standing out, which, I mean, that could lead to a very interesting red Straw Hat Punk Hazard combo, but in the long run, I don't think this was a great set for red. The events are going to play out nicely, but other than that, I'm not super excited to play red in the coming set. If I'm completely wrong, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what your opinions are on this set for red, and let me know if I'm wrong. If I missed something, let me know in the comments down below. But that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to get more One Piece TCG content, hit that subscribe. And until next time, peace.